What is up, COD people? Hope you're all doing well. It has now been officialized, guys, and also confirmed by Censor, brought to us by the latest COD-tacular podcast. Of course, everything today that will be used will be linked down below using two of those podcasts. Yet again, some great content coming from Call of Duty and Censor, as he has now confirmed the first Call of Duty sub in. Ironically enough, confirmed by a sub himself. It will not be Censor. It will be what was hinted at earlier this week, or just last week as well. It will be Medals out and Bance in for the Toronto Ultra. Now, whether or not you want to say this makes sense, you got to trust the team going forward. This is the best move for them. After just 1 week, they are now subbing in Bance. Also, according to Censor, though, the scrims have been going quite well with him, and here's him confirming that twice on the COD-tacular podcast.
A lot of great players that going into this season I thought were going to perform really well, and they seem to show that in Minnesota, so I expect the same thing out of them going into this. Toronto has a couple of team roster changes that they're making. You got Bance coming in as a starter for Medals, who was playing really well. He is. And I played against him the other night in 10s, and he shows up, man. He guns people. Bance is a really interesting pick. I think Bance is a winner. I think he's good vibes. I think he plays as a team, and I think he plays to win. And from what I saw from him in the scrims, they were playing against the Huntsmen. Toronto, I believe, was losing the scrims, but Ben was dropping high 40s, high 30s every single hard
Are you
point.
expecting Bance in the starting lineup now? Because he was on the bench in Minnesota.
He's on the starting lineup going into this event.
Okay.
He's going to play. And he got the opportunity,
And so there it is. I don't think a lot of us expected it this soon on, but it would make sense for a 10-man roster who is paying for 10 individual players to maybe make those moves earlier than other teams as well. As the debate does continue about New York following this weekend, there are going to be so many storylines. And again, if you guys want to come back Monday, I'll be breaking it down. If you guys have been following the channel ever since 2 weeks ago at our first Minnesota launch weekend, I think we've had 15 videos so far covering Call of Duty storylines and drama and news. I absolutely love it. And yes, those storylines will continue as we do head to London. It's going to be absolutely insane. Now, speaking of other subs out there, I would love to share a story quickly, also brought to us by Merk and Nameless, as apparently they approached the LA Guerrillas GM after having a few drinks and told him to his face they will play Blazt at some point during the season, and they should be starting him sometime soon. They told this to a GM of a Call of Duty League owner, by the way, and just after the first weekend, they had the balls to say this. I thought it was a great story. Here it is.
It's a good one.
I got a good story for you. In Minnesota, we were myself and Nameless. So I think it was either after rehearsal day or day one. But we got some late dinner, had a couple of drinks, and we were meeting some people. There was a lot of like team owners, GMs, this and that. And yeah, I think we met the GM of Guerrillas, and we told him to his face, we're like you are going to start Blazt within a month or two. Like, it is going to happen. Like, that is before we saw the Guerrillas play, and maybe now
I mean, you got to imagine. I don't know. Again, a GM probably does not have the decision making to actually sub in players and out, but it's got to be the weirdest thing to be a big wig investing in the Call of Duty League. Probably does not. I'm speaking out of my arse here, guys. I'm kind of just wailing at speculation. I assume he doesn't really know much about the game itself. All of a sudden, you have broadcast talent telling you who to start. I wonder what he went back and said to the team, like, hey, should we be starting Blastful, or do I call him Blazt? I'm not sure if he actually changed his name. And all of this, I think it's a triangle. It's crazy to see the storylines and how they connect, because remember this past summer, or just a few months back, we actually were talking about Blazt and Dashy taking around a jet ski comments towards Censor, and Blazt was a part of that, and now he is a sub. Censor's a sub. We're talking about Blazt possibly starting first as well, alongside Bance being the first Call of Duty sub. So we know the first one. And we know Merk alongside Nameless are pushing to have Blazt be the second sub to be starting as well. Who do you guys think will be the second sub in Call of Duty League to make his start? And again, I'm going to ask this question at time and time again. Videos coming soon on this. Do you guys think Censor will play this season? He thinks so, and his confidence makes me believe him. Very lastly, guys, brought to us by the latest Hard Points episode. Again, will be linked down below. I think is a great debate to have for all of you guys in the community as well. That is, how do we judge Call of Duty League titles or championships or wins? How do we judge these weekends, especially because only 8 of the 12 teams will be competing for most of these weekends? Obviously, launch weekend can't really have a victor there because of the format itself. We're now entering the tournament structure where technically 2 wins, you move on to playoffs, 2 losses, you're out, and it's possible, it is fully possible that 4 series wins and you can win the entire weekend, which is crazy in itself. I actually do enjoy the format though, but especially Hardpoints goes on about this when it compared to the past, right? If we don't don't count these as championships, how can these new up-and-coming pro players or these pros who have no chips or championships or titles yet, how can they surpass the all-time greats if we don't really know how to classify these? They also make a great argument comparing this towards CSGO. You know, that's where I come from as well. Super curious what you guys think about this. Do we call each homestand weekend a championship? And then, or a major, or a title, or just a win? How do we label these? What do you guys think? Here's Hardpoints debating it just a little bit.
All right, so I'll pose this one then. I've seen it discussed on Twitter. We all talk about number of championships, who's got the most, who can catch who. Do we count these events as championship wins, or is the only thing we count as a championship this year champs?
Oof.
It's
a tough one to start with.
I can give my opinion first if you want, because it's very tough. Because I'll just tell you this the way I see it. It's very tough because I find this is our tournaments now. It's just different. Like, these are our tournaments. But at the same time, they're not seeded. They mimic league matches. 4 of the teams aren't there. There are a lot of things, but that's all we have. So if we don't count them, are we only counting champs? And that's maybe then we just have to say it's a new era. I don't know. It's tough.
For me, it's like, how do you measure it in terms of, I don't know, greatness or whatever? I think you have to create like a line, like new era. You either count these as individual like tournament wins, or, you know, we had our majors from the previous era, right, before CDL. Do 2 of these count as like do 3 of them count as like a major? You know what I'm saying? I don't think they hold the same weight as majors did before for those points exactly. I don't think you can weigh them the same way.
If that's what you want to do, though, then I feel like we might as well not count anything that's ever happened over this point and start fresh.
And so it's certainly weird, me coming from the CSGO scene, they talk about that a little bit as well. We have our majors. Twice a year, we have our major wins, but alongside that, we have championships just about every other weekend. Now, we label our events as well, S tier, A tier being just below S tier, and then right above S tier being the majors as well. But every time there's a trophy involved, it's a championship. It's a pretty big win. Typically, though, we base it off the competition there. Whether or not Astralis is there or Liquid is there, doesn't really matter. As long as there are a lot of the top teams there, it's a championship. It counts as a pretty solidified win as well, at least in CSGO. And so when it comes time for labeling a championship, it's tough when you enter, you know, Call of Duty. You know, you have champs, right? COD champs is the one end all be all. You get your ring. When it comes time for championships, though, I do think, my own personal opinion, which does not matter for much, I think these individual weekends, you still have 8 of the top 12 teams considered in the entire world, in the entire league there. That's still 2/3 of the top teams. I would say, yes, each and every individual homestand weekend should in itself either be a title or a championship. It's not the end all be all, but it certainly has to count for something. What do you guys think about this? Until next time, we'll be back here, guys, breaking down Call of Duty news every single day, all day long, alongside other esports and gaming news. For all of you guys who are interested, I saw a few posts out there. There is more news on Barstool, Nadeshot, 100 Thieves, possibly coming tomorrow. I'll have that video for you guys hopefully as soon as possible, as we have more information on the future of what Barstool will be doing inside Call of Duty or with 100 Thieves, and it does involve Nadeshot's Call of Duty event. More coming tomorrow. Until next time, take care, drink your coffee or drink your water. I'll be back here shortly.